Hmm. I guess I'm live. It looks like I am live right now. Hmm. Anywho, so welcome back to another episode of Nomadic Divines Strange Love podcast. I'm just trying to figure this out because I don't usually go live. Well, when I say live, I mean I usually don't click on live. So I'm trying to figure it all out. Uh, Today, I want to talk about the system. Hopefully, I don't have no problems with this live video because if I do, I might have to do it again. But we'll see how it goes. So, the system. Why is it here? That's what I want to talk about. The scripture of the day. You know what? It's really loud outside. Give me a moment. So, yes. The scripture of the day is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3. I'm going to read it real quick. I'm going to read it. So 11:3. By faith we perceive that the system of things were put in order by God's word, so that what is seen has come into existence from the things that are not visible. That's the scripture of the day. I might, I'm probably going to repeat that again throughout this lesson, but yeah, that's the scripture. So, what did it state? That we were put The system of things were put in order by God's word. That means the system is here because of God. But I want to go into further depth of who really created the system because it did say God, but other people have a lot to do with it too. So what is the system? And you know what? I'm like really confused right now because I was trying to go live on Instagram and I was having problems because I was really confused. Like I didn't see no live button. I remember seeing it before, but for some reason this time now all of a sudden that I want to go live on Instagram, I didn't see where I was supposed to click on to go live. Uh, and that's where my most following is, even though I don't have much of it because I don't do a lot of promoting. But got to start from somewhere, right? And I'm gonna figure it out. So, anywho, just wanted to say that if you're wondering why I look really confused and out of space, it's because I was trying to figure that out and I'm really confused. Okay. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The system. Why is it here? Well, some of the other scriptures I want to mention is 2 Corinthians 4:4 and then Romans chapter 13. I'm not going to read those right now, but I'm going to most likely probably read them a little bit later. But those are some of the scriptures that are included. The sources that I use for this lesson is the Bible, and then the other source is common sense. It's just common sense. When you really think about it, it's common sense, you know? Okay, so I looked up the definition of like the system just to see what information I would find on Google. And it stated that the system is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or interconnecting network, or a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, an organized framework or method. The latter part of that definition made more sense to me. Like an organized framework or method. It's like we have a method, or our way of doing things, which is this system. So those are the definitions of the system. Here's some examples I decided to make note of what you will see of the system, that basically what makes up the system. We got the bus and railroad system. We got the school system. We got the foster system. We got the prison system. We got the court system, the religious system, and then some of the most prominent figures, or what people would consider important or higher powers, is the president. Then we have the mayor, the governor, judges, Congress, and then I put media, because I believe the media plays a huge role into the system. It really does. The economic part of the system is, we got, federal taxes, state taxes, other taxes, and then taxes that may not seem to make sense to a lot of people. Wages, cost of living. I mean, I could go on and on, but those are just some things that, people tend to often complain about, or it's mentioned when it comes to this system of things. Is, why do we have to pay taxes? The taxes being increased, we got to pay more, and it seems to be a problem. Or the wages doesn't seem to balance out with the cost of living, so now people are struggling financially, and it's probably been like that for a while, actually. And that's the system, really. Those are the main things I thought. When it comes to the system, I thought of the wages and the cost of living, and how those things, especially in the state of California, those things don't seem to balance out. In other states, the cost of living isn't as high as, it isn't as much as the state of California. However, the wages isn't as much as the state of California, to where people are still financially struggling out there. So it still doesn't balance out in other states too. It's like, okay, you can find a house in Michigan or in Ohio way cheaper than you can in California, but the wages, you might not be making that much an hour, to where you're still going to be struggling. You're going to need some kind of support, some kind of family support. You're going to need somebody to help you out wherever you live. That's what it's going to come down to. You need to make some babies and have a husband to help you out. I mean, that's what it is. And if you don't, and you live in by yourself, you're just going to be financially struggling no matter where you are. It's going to be a problem. Okay, so anyways, I don't want to go into rambling, because I feel like I'm already rambling. I don't want to do that. My next subheading is, why is the system here? Okay, so I want to read a little bit. I'm sure a lot of you God-fearing people may know this story, but for the ones that don't, I still want to read it, because it has a lot to do with why this system is here. So in the beginning, there was a perfect system set in place. It was perfect because God is the one who made it. But when the first humans, Adam and Eve, chose to be ungrateful and greedy and take more than what was offered to them, their sin corrupted that perfect system. And I wanted to say it that way on purpose, ungrateful and greedy, because that's really what they were. Like, oftentimes people say they disobeyed and they rebelled, but it's like they were greedy. They had everything they needed and it wasn't good enough. So they're the ones that corrupted a system that was perfect. It was the humans. Anywho, moving on to the next paragraph, because I talk a lot. Consequently, and that scripture is found in Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 7. In case you're wondering, that's where it's found in. So, anyways, consequently, after Adam and Eve rebelled, um, God made them leave the perfect paradise garden, which is known as the Garden of Eden. Both people had, both people meaning Adam and Eve, they had a belief that they could live their life without God's guidance or directions, and they felt like they could make better choices without him. This way of thinking is ultimately what led them to their demise. This was the beginning of a new system. Hard labor and suffering would be added to their everyday lives. Soon, new empires would rise with kings and queens. Oh, and did I mention a whole new set of rules? Yeah. As the generations would continue to pass, nations would become stronger, and the citizens in those nations would have to be accustomed to the system of things in order to live a successful life. And that's what happened. I don't want to share too much of my thoughts after I read what I wrote down, because I have a Q&A at the end, and if I do that, it's like, and I did this before. I'm trying to become better at what I'm doing. I don't want to already answer my Q&As, but I'm probably going to do it anyways. But I do want to say that the perfect paradise garden, when Adam and Eve, when they chose to do what they did because they was greedy, that can be found in the book of Genesis chapter 3 verse 8 through 24. In case you're wondering, that's where that could be found. That's where I got the information from. Anyways, moving on. Next subheading: how to maintain in this system. The dollar bill. Let's talk about the dollar bill. I want to talk about the dollar bill. Money is essential in maintaining and becoming successful in the system. Without money, it would be very difficult to have a successful or happy life. Nowadays, it seems like almost everything requires a person to have money. Food, clothes, shelter, kids, marriages, entertainment, traveling, public transportation, and many other fun things that the average 9-to-5 worker may not be able to really afford. I want to talk about sin real quick. Throughout the years, humans have lived their lives the way that they chose to without considering God's rules. Sin has created many problems that has caused many people to struggle financially. Unwanted pregnancies and children growing up in poverty-stricken neighborhoods have become the norm. Adam's decision to choose his wife's advice rather than listening and choosing God's advice caused Adam and Eve to search and hunt for food and work hard for it. It was no longer given freely to them like before, and sadly, their children, Cain and Abel, were born into these harsh conditions. Uh, so the two offerings mentioned in the book of Genesis were one of the fruit offerings and the other of the firstlings of Abel's flock. And those two offerings that the brothers had worked for somehow created there was some jealousy between them two, and because one gift was favored and the other wasn't. And that story can be found in the book of Genesis chapter 4 verse 1 through 7. So I'm sure y'all aware of Cain and Abel, how Cain killed Abel because he was jealous that God favored Abel's gift more than his. And it wasn't the gift itself. I mean, because Cain offered fruit. He offered fruit. Like, he literally picked up some fruit, put it together, and said, "Here you go, God." But Abel was the one. Abel was a shepherd, so he was the one gathering the meat together from the flock, and it wasn't the gift. I just want to mention this, but it wasn't the gift itself which was unfavored by God. It was the heart condition. God already saw that Cain was already, before they offered that, Cain was already jealous of Abel. He was jealous. And when it came time to them offering something to God, Cain's heart was not, it wasn't right. Like, he wasn't doing it. It was his motive. He wasn't doing it for his genuine good purposes. And God knew that. So, and I'm just saying this because oftentimes I've heard people say, they would talk about like the actual gift itself. It wasn't the actual gift itself. It was the heart condition of that person. And God knew that. Because think about it. Cain killed Abel. Bam, there you go. That's that. And God knew that was going to happen because that was already a problem that the brothers was having before they decided to offer the gift. And a lot of people don't think about it. It's like, why did they even offer the gift to begin with? Because it was a competition. It was like one of, both brothers, they're trying to be favored and loved by God. And somebody got to show somebody something like, hey, I want to be favored too. So it was like a competition between both of them. And one was on the offensive side and the other one was on the defensive side. So, and this makes, the reason why I'm even mentioning this is because I'm just saying, like, Cain and Abel, when they were born into this world, they didn't have the luxury that they didn't have the luxury that Adam and Eve had, being able to just pick some fruit off the tree and say, thanks, I'm going to sleep, I'm cool, they had to work for it. So this is an example. This is like, think about it. This is like one of the first examples of the consequences of Adam and Eve's sin. Now you see their children working hard for food that they're offering to God, but they working hard for it, So it's like right after Adam and Eve are like told to leave the Garden of Eden, now you see their children suffering from it. Because now it's like, oh, wow, the children got to work for their food. But it wasn't like that in the Garden of Eden. But anywho, that was because Adam and Eve, they are the ones that created that new system for their own children. So their children had to suffer for it, for their bad choices. That's my point. Their children had to suffer. Anywho, hold on. You know what? Okay, yeah. So I made the outline really short this time because there was a lot of information I put in, me wanting to talk about my experience pertaining to the system and me not wanting to make 3-hour videos. I wanted to make that quick as possible, but still mention what I felt like needed to be mentioned. Okay, so this is part 2, which is my experience. The foster system / I put foster system / sin. Okay, so and this, I'm speaking from experience, okay? So here's some pros of being in a foster system. The pros are you get to have shelter, like you have a place to live, food, clothing, stability, independence, and freedom. Did I say freedom? Yeah, I really did. I said freedom. That's what I said. Here's some cons of being in the foster system. No love, emancipation, and depart from the family So if you do get some kind of close relationship or you start feeling close to these people, just know that might end, and they might not even keep in contact with you, or it might not even be important to them the way it is to you. That is a con, being in the foster system. Another one is maybe you may not have any relationship with your birth family. That could be a con if you want to know who your birth family is, or you want to go back to the family you were with before or whatever. And I do want to, okay, so I do want to say, since I'm talking about my experience, I mentioned no love. Okay. So, me having the understanding that I do now, I will say this, that no love, I mean, I hate to say it, but I blame myself a lot for, because I've, my goodness, I hate that I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways, because whatever, I can say what I want. But someone wants to, it's funny, probably two people that I can remember, and I'm not even going to mention a name because it's unnecessary. I don't feel no reason to mention a name, but two people I can think of that said the same thing to me. And they said, they was like, they told me that the whole world doesn't revolve around you. And they were talking to me like the whole world, it's not all about you. I think that's what they said. Not everything's all about you. That's what they said to me. And at the time, I was like thinking, like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, seriously, at the time, I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, I never said that. So what the hell are you talking about? That's what they said. Not everything is all about you, Destiny. And I was just like, okay, I never said that. However, now looking back, I totally understand why they said that. Now I live my life with that mentality of no, everything is all about me. And what I mean is, there's a song that I'm sure y'all aware of Michael Jackson. If this is for all my Michael fans, and it's a lot of them. I'm sure it's a lot of them. But the song "Man in the Mirror." So in the "Man in the Mirror," when he's talking about you, meaning me, you, them, him, she, everybody, we all have that responsibility to take a look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, I have to be the one to change in order for other people to change. Or I have to be the one to set a good example to inspire other people so they know there's still hope. That song is like, I think it's supposed to, it applies to everybody. Whether they think they Jesus, or they think they Gandhi, or they think they the president, or whatever they think they are, right? It still needs to apply to them. Like, you got to look at yourself and take ownership and responsibility of what you're doing in your life, and how the consequences that result from your choices can affect other people. That's why you have to make the change, right? So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, as far as no, everything is all about me. Me in that sense. That's what I mean. In that sense, meaning I have to be the one to change. So it could be for my kids, it could be for my man, which I don't have one right now, but I'm saying if I had one, I can't expect him to be a good man if I'm not being a good woman. Because he gonna look at me like, see, that's exactly why I do what I do. Because look at you. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna justify his bad behavior off of his woman's behavior. So I have to be the one to set the example. And that's another scripture. I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't write it down, and it's probably because I just thought of it right now. But that's another scripture. It's like for husbands and wives. It's pertaining to husbands and wives. If the woman really want her man to change his ways or his bad behavior and they're already married or they're in a relationship or whatever the situation is, she has to be the one to be that good example to inspire him, not sit there and nag all day and complain and tell him everything he's not doing right. That's just going to annoy him. No, she has to, she can, I'm trying to remember exactly what scripture it was, but I do remember what it stated. It stated that she could and I'm trying to remember the best I can, but it I believe it stated that she could, to win him over without a word. That's what it means. How do you win someone over without a word? You be a good example. That means you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to complain to them and nag to them and tell them how bad of a person they are and how they need to step up and be a man. No, you just do you and be that example. And then the man might be like, damn, I want to be like her. Okay, let me, all right, let me get myself together. Damn, let me clean up whatever let me change some stuff around because, whoa, she motivating me. That's what I'm talking about. So that's, like I said, I want to move on from what I'm saying, but that is why I'm saying that no, everything is all about me and it should be all about you. So if anybody ever tell you not everything is all about you, that's a lie. No, everything is all about you too. Because whoever you got in your life, they're going to be looking at every little thing you do. And if the moment you mess up and make a bad choice, now they're going to find an excuse or a reason to do the same thing and make a bad choice because they like, well, he did it, so I'm going to do it. But if you lead by example, your woman or your man, they could be, motivated or influenced enough to be like, oh, hey, okay, damn. Wow, I want to be like that too. Okay. And then it might, hey, if it could become like a competition, like, no, but I don't like competitions, but you know what I mean? Like if it brings y'all closer together, then that's good. So, anywho, so when I mentioned, no love, one of the cons of being in the foster system, no love, I really believe that, and okay, so this brings me back to the statement that I made about me blaming myself. Because I said a lot, but now I remember why I said all of that about looking at the man in the mirror is because when I look back, sometimes I do wonder, like, I know for a fact that if I didn't make all the bad choices I made in high school, there's a possibility it could have brought me closer to my foster family. I really believe that. But I'm not saying that it's right for everybody to do what they are doing, and no, but that's accountability. That's me really like, okay, wow. How could things have been, that's me thinking like, how could things have been different? How could I, because one of my things was when I was in the system, I did feel like I needed love. However, I made a lot. I mean, I was young. I was a teenager. So, teenagers going to be making a lot of bad choices. I mean, what teenager doesn't? I don't believe there's no such thing as a perfect teenager. And if somebody tell you that or they act like that, that's a lie. I'm not going to believe it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to believe it. I'm not at all, but I guess hopefully this helps for the new upcoming teenagers to know, like, if you're in that situation and you do want love and you're in a system, just try to make the best decisions possible because it might bring you closer to your foster family. But, the worse, the more bad decisions you make, maybe it might make people either, I don't want to say afraid of you. I don't want to say that, but it'll probably make them justify not having a connection with you. They could justify or make excuses of not wanting to really, have an emotional connection. So, and I'm gonna get more into that. My next subheading, this brings me to my next subheading: how personal relationships affect the system. Uh, when I was first in the system, I was 16. Was I 16? I think I was. I believe I was 16. Sweet 16? I don't think so. No, not at all. I wasn't, no. You know, I didn't have no dang on waiting for no birthday party or what somebody can give me. I was, oh my God. It would, no. It wasn't no dang on sweet 16. It was more like a trap, what's the word I'm thinking? It was more like a tragedy. A tragedy 16. It was not sweet. It was a dark 16. How about that? It was a dark, salty 16. You know, here's I wanna list some so you understand what I'm saying. I want to list some pros and cons of having a boyfriend at such a young age. And of course, there's a reason. I'm not going to put the whole blame on me because that wouldn't give me justice. I don't think that would be fair to me. No, it wouldn't be fair to me at all. However, I want to mention the pros of having a boyfriend at such a young age. And when I say young, I'm talking about 16. So here's some pros. You might get a little money, maybe some sex, purses, clothes, nails done, hair done. Does that sound good to you? I hope you didn't say yes, because if you say yes, man, I'm gonna be praying for you. Now here's some cons, and let me tell you something. The cons definitely outweigh the pros. Here's some cons of having a boyfriend, and just know when I say boyfriend, I'm talking about y'all actually having sex. Okay, that has to be included. That's what I'm talking about at 16. Here's some cons: homeless, no family, in the dark spiritually or ignorant, STDs, unwanted doctor's visits, depression, anxiety, prostitution, drugs, settling for bums, no self worth, low self esteem, single parent, unemployed, or illegal activity. When I mention prostitution, that's illegal activity. So those are some of the cons, which you can see is like way more than the pros, but that is what could happen to a person if they decide to take that route and have a boyfriend. And I'm not saying this is in every case. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying in the cases of a person having a boyfriend, a person that's already in a broken, dysfunctional family, not feeling loved, and then they take that route. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about in a family where they have everything they want and they feel in love and they have a boyfriend. No, because things can turn out way different. But I'm saying in a broken family where it's a single parent household, not feeling love, and now you're trying to search and find love, and then you end up homeless because you love means that much to you. That's what could happen, and it's not good. It's not good at all. Okay, so a person can they can experience a major loss, but God can restore it when they change their ways. He really can. However, the devil is always searching for a way to steal everything a righteous person has. You can find a good example of this in the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 6 to 22. And for the people that don't know, but I'm sure you know, but if you don't know, that's when Job has everything in his life taken from him: his kids, his, when I say his money, all the animals, the livestock that he had, like everything that helped him bring in his income every month was gone. His kids died in a storm, and I know that I can't even imagine one of my kids dying like that. I don't even know how I would react like that. But um, everything was taken from him, and he was a good person. But God restored it because he was a God-fearing person, and he didn't blame God. So in the Bible, when it says that he didn't curse God, really that's another way of saying he didn't blame God for that happening. He still had faith, and he knew that wasn't going to be the end of his story, and God restored everything he had. So, God can bless someone when the devil takes away everything they got. God, he can still bless you. Um, so, you know, my experience, I'm trying to make this vague without being messy. Trying to make it vague. I know this. Let me just tell you something. I know this lady, this woman, she's a real good woman. She's very beautiful. She's a real good woman. She was living in a home, you know, she was living in a home with her children. I don't believe that she had a agreement with her baby's father as far as I mean they knew that it was just them two. They were a couple, but they weren't married. They were living in separate households, okay? They were living in separate households. And she was still financially struggling. I mean, she was, and he had his own home. I mean, he lived in his own home. They were living separately. So it wasn't the ideal situation. Well, let me tell you what happened to this woman. I mean, I know her personally, like seriously. I know her personally. See, what happened was this woman she was already experiencing a great amount of depression and anxiety since she was a child. Like when I say child, I'm saying a young child. But experiencing what she did with relationships with older men, um, I believe that it made her anxiety and depression that already existed as a child way more severe. And it continued to get worse and worse and worse. And when the children were involved, eventually they were taken away. And it had a lot to do with her not keeping up with her financial, like her bills, her rent, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It had a lot to do with that. Because depression and anxiety can cause a person to want to drink all day, or maybe they're smoking marijuana a lot to not want to think about certain things, or maybe they're doing drugs or whatever it is, right? Because oftentimes people they want to avoid how they're really feeling. So if they do experience a great amount of depression or anxiety or PTSD, drugs is a great way to avoid how they're really feeling. I mean, duh, we all know that, right? So that's what happened. And the fact that she was a single mother, she was a single mother living with the children, and they were taken away. She did love her. I know she loved her children a lot. Like I know she loved her children. However, she knew it was time to just say, okay, this is not working. Maybe someone else can take care of them, because I'm not mentally in a position to take care of them. And I honestly respect her honesty within herself to admit that, you know, to actually admit that, like, you know what, I'm not in a position mentally to care for you, because I need to get myself together mentally. Because if I'm not, how can I care for you? I need to fix whatever is going on mentally before I can really take care of all these kids. And if I feel like I'm doing it alone and somebody else is in a whole nother house, and if the other person's making someone else more a priority, then that makes things even worse. That's why both people really, I believe, should be in the same household, to where if the woman is feeling like that, the man could be right there like, hey baby, I got you, don't worry, or encourage her, comfort her, whatever. If she don't have that as much as she should, and she sees the baby father on this type of, hey, I'll see you when I see you, when it's convenient for him, things are definitely going to fall apart, and eventually their relationship may fall apart. And that's when she really becomes that whole type of single mother type of thing. So being a single mother, and I know that, like I tell you, I know this lady personally. She's a good woman. um Being a single mother, and I'm a single mother, so I'll tell you, uh it can result. Let me tell you something. And now this is coming from a child already experiencing this, and then they grow into an adult, and then it's just becomes severe. It's not like it just happened. It already was there. It just became more severe. I'm talking about depression or anxiety. The low self-esteem can result. I mean, let me say it like this. Depression can result into low self-esteem, which can result into, you know, like lack of love in a home. I'm sorry, I said it backwards. Lack of love in a home can result into low self-esteem, which can result into depression, which can result into children searching for love somewhere else, even if it means them sinning to get it. I think I said it right. Even if it means them sinning to get that love that they don't feel in the household. I have I have personally experienced this. Just like that woman, I have experienced this. Um so I'm just taking a deep breath because I'm thinking of someone that I really care about right now, and I know they're going through it right now. I want to the so anywho, I talked about a single mother. Um, it's funny. I just want to say this real quick. It's funny because maybe I've already said this. I hope I didn't, but if I did, oh well, I forgot. But when I think of some of these stories in the Bible, yeah, I probably did say this, but it's just making me think of it. Like the story of Job, the story of Moses, the story of Jesus, the story of Noah. Like, when Noah preached to so many people and they looking at him like, yeah, right, man. When has it ever rained? You sound stupid. Yeah, right. That ain't gonna happen. We've been hearing you talk about it for so many years. It ain't gonna happen. You sound, and like they mock Noah, right? Jesus getting persecuted, and oh my God, we all know Jesus' story. But when I think of those, especially Job having everything taken from him, and then God intervening, like, wait, oh, you didn't blame me, Job? Okay, I got you. And God blessing him. Those story. Oh, and let me mention the story of David. The story of David. I think I'm kind of going through that right now. When I think of all these people, these God-fearing people, I think of myself because, believe it or not, me personally, I've experienced almost everything that the God-fearing people in the Bible have experienced. I have experienced the same thing, the same exact thing. It's crazy. It's like I could like literally see myself in their situation. I could relate to them so much because I've been through almost everything that all of these different people been. Like David, King David was a single man, like kind of lusting after someone else's wife. he didn't have his own wife. Now, I'm not saying I'm about to kill somebody because I'm lusting after somebody's husband. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, yeah, you become single for so long and you start checking people out like damn, and then you start to notice that all the people that you like are either married or they're taken, and you just damn, just wonder like how would it be with this person because he looked real good, but he told me he married, so I find myself in that position to where I'm like, oh my god. However, the difference between me and David is I'm not acting on it because I have the fact that I have learned about King David's bad choices. I know I'm grateful to have that story here, so I know not to repeat the same thing that he repeated. But it does make me feel like King David at times of I understand how he was a single man and he wanted he wanted love, and and it was the person that he really liked so happened to be married, and he got to the point to where it's like dang, he killed her husband just to get with her. I mean, he must have really been meditating and like I don't want to say obsessed with her, but he must have really been like, yeah, kind of like if you kill somebody's husband, you must be somewhat obsessed with them. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not at that point like I'm obsessing over somebody's husband or anything, but sometimes I do feel like I'm in that position because it be seeming like all the good men are taken, or I don't want to say good because I might not even know you, but the men that I find attractive are taken, and then the men that want to approach me, I'm not attracted to. So then now I find myself in a position like King David where I'm like, I don't want to say lusting after, but I am like, oh God, anyways. So anywho, moving on. There's a lot more I want to say about that, but I don't want to make myself sound bad right now. So I'm going to talk about the jail system. Talk about the jail system. So the funny thing is, it's not a secret. It's public information, and that's probably why I feel like I can share it. Yeah, it's on my record. But being locked up for the first time in this 34 years of living, this 34 years of living, looking back, I thinking about my reaction to being locked up for 6 days. 6 days. I reacted in a way that most people, because I thought about this, like I really meditated on this for a while. I reacted a way that most people would react if they already have had the experience of being locked up. Like, you ever seen those movies or shows or whatever? Someone, they get arrested and they're like trying to fight the police. And when I say fight, I mean when the handcuffs are already on, you talking shit to the police, or you're fighting them, you're kicking in the police car, you're on your way, you're cussing them out, you're being, not uncooperative when you get into the jail. And I'm thinking of movies I've seen. And I know people act like that. I've seen videos too. I've seen live videos too. But people in the cell, people in the jail cell, kicking and screaming, get me out of here. I can't take it out. Knocking their head up against the wall, like acting a fool because they like panicking. They're panicking that they're locked up. They're panicking. Especially to a person that, for their first time, someone who's never been locked up, their first time, they might be really scared and they might panic and they might either say or do some stuff they might regret. Like, and the people walk away. Let's say the people walk away and they think they're alone and they're in their cell and they start knocking their head up against the wall, or they talking to themselves constantly, or they're shaking, they're pacing back and forth. They're showing some kind of behavior of that they're anxious because they've never been in this situation before. That's why when I thought of myself, I thought it was really interesting that I did none of that. And I was afraid. I was probably the most afraid of the, you know, that I've ever been in my whole life, because I've never been in that situation before. But I knew it was something in me that I knew, uh, you know, remaining calm. I just knew this. I told myself, I said, self, remaining calm would speed up the process of getting out of here. Because I've seen so many, and also I've seen so many shows. I watched a lot of investigative, detective, criminal shows. I just very, very fascinated with that kind of stuff. So I've seen so much shows of how a person can make the situation way worse. And I'll be thinking in my head, like, damn, if they only would have just calmed down. That's what I'd be thinking, like, damn, shut up. I've been thinking that way. When people get arrested or they in a cell or something, they making things worse. I'd be thinking, like, damn, shh, be quiet. And maybe that helped. Who knows? Maybe that helped. But I knew I had, I had faith. I had faith that He's going to get me out of there. I just knew. He was the only person. I just knew. He had to get me out of there. Especially, the weird part is I probably called about 2 people, and I believe someone said they was going to call me back, and I never got a call back. They didn't call me back. And that scared the shit out of me, because I really felt like, oh, wow, you really on your own now. Because that was somebody, as a child, I looked up to, like, that was supposed to help me, be there for me, protect me, help me. And when they said they're I'm gonna call you back or something like that, and I didn't get a call back from them, and I called again, they didn't answer, that really scared me, because I was like, wow, I'm really on my own. Like, if they not gonna help me, who's gonna help me? That's what I start feeling like. Whoa. And then I knew it was gonna have to be God. So it was actually a blessing in a way, because it made me depend on God more. And I don't even want to say who it was. They know who they were. Anywho. But I have a reason why I'm saying all this, because I really believe that being calm and praying to God can help you get out of jail quickly. I mean, who do you know get locked up for 6 days? And I'm not even telling you what I did, because I believe it was another video. If you check out my other videos and you listen to really pay attention to what I was saying, I mentioned somebody slapping a police officer or something, or I think I said, like, not a police officer, I said the authorities. I think that's what I said. Then you'll know who I was talking about. But who do you know for that type of? There's got to be a higher power, and I want to get more into it when I do the Q&A. So I don't want to say too much right now, because I have a lot of questions for the Q&A. But hopefully you'll get an idea of who I was talking about. I mean, if you have any common sense, you'll know who I was talking about. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, moving forward. Part 3, complying and submitting to the system. These are the reenactments. I mean, you know what? This is my first time doing the reenactment, and it's not really the way that I envisioned wanting to do a reenactment for my podcast. And let me just say this. I know it's really plain in this room, but I've lived a life. This has really been my life for a while. I've lived a life having the mentality of, I don't want to get comfortable where I'm living, because I might move again. I might have to move again. So, some people have their plaques up and awards on the wall. They have posters. They have something on the wall showing that that's their stuff. They want to be acknowledged for whatever they got on the wall, their awards. I do have some stuff I would like to put on the wall. You might eventually see it. But just in case you're wondering why it looks so plain in here, it's for that reason, because I told myself I don't want to get comfortable in this place. And I've had that mentality probably ever since a child, not want to get comfortable. Once you start putting stuff up, that means you're trying to make it a home. And I didn't do that. So I just wanted to mention that in case you're wondering why it looks so damn plain up in here. That's why. That's probably why. Anywho, so this is going to be real. I want to make this real brief. So, what should you do? Okay, this is a question. What should you do? So, let's say you get locked up, and I just mentioned this. Okay, so I kind of already gave you the answer. So let's say you get locked up, and now you are in the jail/prison system. What is the best way to react to get released from jail the quickest possible way? And you know what? This is my fault. Before I move on to the reenact, I knew it was a page I was missing out of my outline. There's another page I want to talk about before I move on to the reenactments, because there's some more information I would like to share. So it's another page. Oops, sorry. Okay, so I want to talk about anger in America. Anger in America. Now, what is usually the evidence of anger in America? Well, oftentimes you may see protests and demonstrations. They're often seen when people make claims of injustice or complain about certain rights that they have. Striking has been a method for people for several years, especially in the African American community. Riots often have happened in the African American community. Looting, stealing, and domestic violence at the home, or domestic violence in the street. Those are some of the examples of what anger in America may look like. Okay. So I'm going to talk about when I said anger in America. We all know, oh gosh, African Americans, I understand, because I'm brown. I'm brown. I'm not black, I'm brown. So I'm of color. I have color. However, what I'm trying to say is I understand, back in the day when people started to figure out, it's when a person doesn't have that much education, they can be deceived and misled, right? And lied to and not know. It's like they're living in an ignorant state. Not saying they're stupid. Being stupid is worse than ignorant. Ignorant is just not knowing. We've all been ignorant, right? I've been ignorant, but it's like the slaves came over, didn't have a great education. They had a disadvantage because of their lack of knowledge, right? So that's the disadvantage they had. And once they started to figure out that they actually had rights, and now we're talking about the 50s or the 60s, okay? Or let me say the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, 70s, especially the 70s, but the 60s, right? Now, people are like really voicing their opinion, like, no, I have a right to speak my mind, right? And you do. I mean, we all do. Or I have a right to vote, or I have a right. I mean, Rosa Parks felt like she had the right and sit in that seat. but she got taken to jail. So does she really have the right? I'm just saying. I mean, did she really have that right? But she felt like she had the right. And this is what my point is. Some people take it too far. They take it too far because they know they have rights. And it's like, yeah, okay, we can have our rights, but just don't take it too far to where now you become a part of the problem because you want to voice your rights so much. And I'm not saying this is for everybody. I'm just saying for the ones that take it too far. Like, when the police come and they tell you you got to move, to me, I think that's a sign like, uh-oh, maybe I'm taking this too far. Change can still happen without you going to jail. You don't have to go to jail for a change to happen. That's not always the best answer, you know. So and that's pertaining to protests and demonstrations. Oftentimes people do it because they feel like they have a right to do it. But just because you have a right doesn't mean you have to do it. There's other ways you can make a change. That's my point. There's other ways you can make a change. I want to talk about, and I do want to mention Spike Lee because I know I already talked about the Malcolm X. The Malcolm X. There's another movie I saw of his. For some reason, I can't think of it. But the Malcolm X probably was the main one that kind of hit me the most mentally. But God, what else? What was I gonna say? That Spike Lee movie. Damn, did I really forget my thought? Anyways, let me move on. I can't believe I forgot. Did I really forget my thought? It was something really. This is so embarrassing. It was something really, really, really important. Oh yeah. See, now I remember. Okay, Spike Lee. That okay. That's just one of his many movies. Okay, but just that one movie, I know it had to inspire a lot of people because it inspired me. And to making movies, you know what I'm saying? Like doing movies, making movies in a way to where people can be inspired to change because of what you're talking about in the movie or what the concept of a movie is. That's a way that people can change. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to, rebel against the police or try to fight the police to make a statement or make a change. You don't have to go that route. That's probably the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do. But if you can make a movie to teach people how to change or to show them, so or to tell a person's story, and the person's story inspires them, just making a movie. Guess what? Doing that, you're not doing anything illegal. Well, I mean, if you kill someone in a movie, like if you really kill someone, you're not, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you're not, rebelling against the authorities if you're doing something productive like making a movie. And movies inspire people like the same way music can inspire someone. It can inspire them to change. That's what I'm saying. There's many other ways a person can make that change or inspire other people to change without saying, hey, I don't. And I know a lot of people might hate me for this, but I don't care because this is really how I feel. It's like without saying, no, I'm not, I don't want to give up my seat. I'd rather go to jail. It's like, you don't have to do it that way because now you are inspiring people you're teaching other people that they need to go to jail to make a change. That's stupid. Now they're going to have it on their record and it might be difficult for them to manage through life because they have, that's just not a good example. And I'm not trying to bash anyone, but I really did want to mention that because I was talking about protests and demonstrations and stuff. And I think sometimes people get lost in that stuff. It's like, that's not the only right way. It's really not. So now I want to talk about cameras cameras and video surveillance. Um, Goodness, what the hell? Okay, so this is the year 2025 where there are literally cameras everywhere. Some complain about being watched, but is it really a bad thing that there are so many cameras? Nowadays, just walking in your average grocery store, you will find several TV monitors, and this is becoming the norm. Seeing TVs near intersections outside where there's traffic have become so common too as well. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I'm telling you, I seen I noticed it. I started seeing more of those, it looks like it's a billboard, that it can be a billboard, but it looks like it's playing advertisements, like it's actually showing trailers of a movie, or like a huge gigantic TV screen. And I'm like, what the? And I've noticed it more of them having it near intersections where the traffic is outside. And I'm like, wow, this is really what we become. This is what we come to. This is crazy. And me myself, I probably have complained about maybe cameras because it makes me feel uncomfortable feeling like I'm being watched 24/7. However, that was me in the past, and I don't want to say too much about that because I don't want to give the whole Q&A away regarding the camera thing. But the surveillance and the cameras, that's a part of the system. That's what this system is now. I don't want to say now. I really believe in the 50s, early 30s, maybe not the early 30s, but I know for sure probably the 50s, 60s. I really believe they still had that surveillance and that camera set up, but I don't believe it was so extensive. I don't think it was to this point where we are now. It's so advanced to where it's like you walk in a grocery store, you see all these TVs, and I'll be looking around like, I ain't gonna lie, I be looking at the TV trying to see if I look good or not. I'd be like, okay, I look good today. I did good. That honestly, that's what I be thinking. As soon as I see that TV, I'll be looking like, I'll be like, okay, yeah. But in the back of my mind, I still be thinking like, damn, this is crazy. Because I don't remember it being like this in the 90s or the early 2000s and seeing all these TVs in CVS or Ralph, seeing all these huge TV screens. I'm like, whoa, what the hell is going on? But that's what we come to. That's what this system has come to. It's just advancing more and more and more. So now, okay, it's just something to think about is really what this system really is. Okay. Now I wanna move on to the reenactments. Let me do this. I want to make this quick. I'm not gonna lie. So okay, so I have about two, and this is very short. This is kind of like common sense. It's just something to think about. Really, it's something to think about. So let's say you get locked up, and now you're in the jail prison system. Okay, what is the best way to react to get released from jail the quickest possible way? I already mentioned that when I said stay calm, pray to God. It'll work. Trust me. I know for a fact. I have the experience. But I want to give some examples of person A and person B. Oh my God. Of what not to do and what you should do. And I really don't want to cuss too much, but God, I don't want to cuss too much. However, I think I heard someone say something like this, and it's so true. It's just like, if I saw a movie, and someone is so upset and they say something like, what the heck? What the heck are you talking about? I didn't do that stuff. That's not me. and they're not cussing at all. They're angry, but I'm paying attention to their language a lot. I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to believe it because I know oftentimes in real life, people are going to say, "What the fuck?" Oops. Am I allowed to say that? They're going to cuss. They're going to be so angry to where the words that come out of their mouth, it's not, um, they're not going to care. They're not going to think too much about, should I be cussing right now? So that's one of, and I just want to say this because that's one of the things about some movies where I would like realistic stuff, not saying that if you have a sex scene or an intimate scene, it has to be all about, you have to show naked parts and you have to be so, it has to be the exact same way of how it really happened. No, there's a way to kind of, fancy it up. Okay. However, when it comes to someone being angry, when a person does, when their language is kind of like similar to how it's more believable to me, you know, uh, the way it is in real life. When they say it the way it is in real life, it's more believable. But when they start fancying it up too much, it's just like, I'm not going to feel it as much. I'm just going to be like, really? Really? And that's not me promoting cussing. That's not, but sometimes I feel like, sometimes it helps because you want some kind of authenticity. I have a problem with saying this word, authenticity. You want that in the movie. And the reason why I'm mentioning the movie is because I like movies, and I know people like movies. They like seeing they like seeing a person's story, and usually it's in a movie. So I wanted to mention that because I did put some cussing in this, but I kind of don't want to say it. But okay, so let's say hmm, oh my god. Okay, so let's say person A, they're getting arrested for a crime, and they say, okay, so this is my opinion. This is what I feel like. This is what I believe what not to do. This is what you should not do in this situation. They getting arrested, and they say, "Hey, I know my rights. I didn't do anything wrong. Get your effing hands off of me, bitch. Somebody get me out of here." And then let's say they threaten everybody. And main reason why I don't want to reenact this whole thing is because it's cussing in it. Goodness. But let's just say they're in jail waiting and they threaten everybody in the jail and they say, "I'm gonna kill everybody in this bitch." They start banging their head up against the wall, right? That's probably something you don't want to do. Because my experience with using the B word, for some reason, it seems like the moment I say bitch, there's a lot of bad events that happen after that. And I'm not saying in this case, this is using an example of the word bitch, but I'm saying like actually being in that situation and you call someone a bitch. And then now I'm starting to see my whole life fall apart just because I use that word. I'd be like, hold on, wait. It's like a domino effect. Something about that word when you call somebody of it is just negative consequence consecutively. Um, so yeah, if you yell at the police, you could say your rights because that's an accurate statement. Okay, you didn't do anything wrong. Is that really an accurate statement? Because you probably did if you're getting arrested. I'm just saying. Get your effing hands off of me, bitch. I mean, you saying that, come on now. You don't want them to justify, okay, they arresting you. Now you're going to be locked up. And then now they can justify keeping you in there for more time because you didn't call one of the officers a bitch. I'm not saying I did this. That's not what I'm saying. But I know oftentimes people get really upset and stuff comes out. That's what you don't do that. Don't do that. If you threaten anybody and say I'm gonna kill everybody up in this bitch, Don't do that either, because now you're adding on to the crime you already committed. Whatever the crime is, you could have stole a piece of candy, whatever it was. Who knows what it was, but all you doing is adding on to that crime, and you making it worse and worse and worse and worse. And now you're making yourself look guilty. Based off of your reaction, you're making yourself look even more guilty. Best thing to do is stay calm. Uh Now, okay, so this is, like I said, this is not really my ideal of a reenactment. Hopefully next time I'll not need to include cussing, because it's really the curse words that's kind of tripping me up right now. Because this is live. um but I'll say this though. And my reenactments really are supposed to be examples for this lesson of what not to do and what you should do. For person B, let's say they stay silent. This is what I recommend: stay silent unless it is absolutely necessary to speak. Like if you got to use the restroom, you want to shower, or uh, let's say you're in pain. Something happened to you. You're in pain. You want to talk to a doctor, or they're talking to you about you going to court soon. So now you have a reason to speak, right? But if it's not necessary, try your best to stay silent for the majority of time. Um, if you say this prayer and you do what I say, I'm sure it will help you. If you say, but you got to believe it though. If you just say it and you don't believe it, it's not going to help you. But you have to believe. You say, God, I have to get out of here. Get me out of here. I don't belong in here. Please. I got to get out of here. Why am I even in here? I have to get out of it. You just keep saying it. I mean, you don't have to keep saying it, but believe it. Just like, oh my God, you are all I have. You have to get me out of here. Like you gotta get. And when you start believing it, and then next thing you know, when it's the fifth and the sixth day, and you are out of there, don't think that's a coincidence, or don't think that it was a magical fairy that came to rescue. No, God heard you, and He saw how you were reacting, and He saw you were talking to Him. All those the people that didn't come to visit you, or the people that didn't call you back. Guess what? That pushed you in a direction to have no choice but to talk to God about it, and to say, "Oh my God, God, no, you're the one. You have to get me out of here. What else am I going to do? Oh my God." But don't say this out loud. So all what I was just saying is, God, I'm going to say it again. I have to get out of here. Get me out of here. I got to get out of here. I don't belong in here. Get me out of here. Ah! Get me out of here. Oh, say that in your head. Don't say it out loud. If you say it out loud, you're going to still look crazy to the people that are watching you, because just know that there's cameras everywhere, even in jail, and they can see everything you're doing in your cell. So even if you say that out loud, it might not be that bad, but it's still going to be bad, because now people are thinking that you're over there worrying and stressed out, and you're crazy because you're talking to yourself. So don't talk to yourself. Just say it in your head. And I guarantee you, trust me, I know God's going to get you out of there. Read a newspaper, eat and sleep a lot. Seriously. I mean, this is for the people locked up. I'm seriously, this is how you get yourself out of there. Now, if you killed somebody, ooh-wee, that is not as severe as what I did. However, I still believe it's still a chance. Anything is possible with God. I really believe that. That's why when you hear stuff about bad behavior being awarded, like, not bad, I'm sorry, good behavior in jail. That's why. But if you make the mistake and think, oh, the guard's not watching, they're not watching, I'm just do this. You made a bad choice because they can see everything you're doing in your cell. They can see everything. You stay calm all the time and know that God is he can hear you in your head if you do the right thing. And I think there is another movie with Spike Lee called Do the Right Thing. I might need to check that out. I think I saw it a long time ago. I might need to see it again because I don't remember watching the whole thing through, but something I've been thinking a lot about it recently. Like I want to watch that movie because I've been thinking about that phrase, that quote, do the right thing. And then I thought of that Spike Lee movie, but do the right thing. If you do it when you think people aren't watching and when you think people are watching, you'll get out of there. I really believe that. But if you try to do some underhanded, shady stuff, or you make a phone call and you say some stuff that is like, wait, did you really say that? Come on now. They can hear phone calls. They can hear everything through the phone calls. Everything you're doing is being recorded. So don't be stupid. I mean, don't make your situation worse. If you really want to get out, just listen to me. Trust me. Um, the power of being Christ-like will get you out of jail quicker than other cases. Okay, I think I said enough. I wanted to mention that, but that's the truth. If you be Christ-like, okay. If someone comes and mess with you, be humble, have humility. Don't talk out loud. Everything you want. You want to get out? Are you stressed out? You want to see your kids? You want freedom? Whatever you want, say it in your head. Only talk when it's necessary. Okay? I think I said enough on that part. And that's the jail system. And that subheading is complying and submitting to the system. So if you do it that way, you're complying and submitting to the system. But if you're making some shady phone calls and you saying some stuff that is, ain't right, just know people are listening. And when you try to get out and you're denied bail, it's probably because they heard or they said you do some shady stuff. I really believe that. Anywho, now the other part I want to talk about knowing your worth. Okay, so this is what not to do. What should you not to do? Okay, this is for women. Okay, yeah, I said women. If you don't know your worth. Because I've been there and done that. I've really been there. And I think the fact that I've been there and a lot of people know I've been there, they think I'm still there, but I'm not. But they think I'm still there. Or maybe they hope I'm still there, but I'm really not. And I hope you get to that point to where you're not either. So this is a conversation. This is a conversation between a guy and a girl. A guy and a girl. And this is what you should not do. So I'm going to try my best. I know I'm going to sound really stupid right now because I'm kind of testing myself with this. I might do it a little different next week, but I'm just kind of testing out to see how I really want these to go. Okay. So this is a guy talking. It's a guy and a girl, and I'm going to try to make my voice sound like a guy, I guess. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Hey, I'm fine. What's up with you? Nothing much. You gonna give me some sex, girl? Hee hee. Okay, but you know what? Okay, why am I talking like that? That's not how I really talk. But you know what? Listen, my phone is about to get shut off. Can you pay my phone bill first? Because my phone about to get cut off. Okay, yeah, girl. But you gonna give me some loving or what? Oh yeah. Yeah, but you gonna pay my phone bill? Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that. Um, you just cheated yourself. You having sex for a phone bill? You could have got way more than that. When I say way more, don't you want a husband? Don't you want a family? Once you get that phone bill, that means that's all you're that's what you in a way that's what you're saying. That's all you're worth is a phone bill. And I'm speaking from experience. That's really what you're saying without saying it is that's all you're worth is a phone bill if you're going to give your whole body away for it. No. You deserve more, okay? So now this is what you should do. And if you're wondering what this has to do with the system, oh, it has a lot to do with the system. This has a lot to do with the way the system is. This is what you should do. So I'm gonna be the guy again. Yeah. So you gonna give me some loving or what? Excuse me. How long have we known each other? Okay, yeah, we just met, but I'm a man. You know, I got needs. Yeah, but I understand. You know, and I have needs too. So let's get to know each other some more, because I really want us to be good friends and at least have an understanding before we do something like that. You know, like an understanding of what we are. Does that make sense? Yeah, I guess I guess so. I feel you. I didn't mean to offend you. I could have kept that going, but that these are like I said, these are really short. I purposely made these really short. Um, but this is just I mean, I would say this is common sense, but really the fact that I've been through this myself, even though I'm saying it's common sense now, when a person is vulnerable or they don't see their self-worth or I mean know their worth, they'll probably settle for a phone bill being paid. Or they'll probably, and they'll do what not to do instead of what you should do. So it's kind of like one of those things that's easier said than done, It's easier said than done until you go through it and you experience it and then you realize it's not worth it and you're cheating yourself. You're just cheating. You're not getting nothing out of it while the other person is getting everything out of it. You're not getting once you get to that point to where you see they're getting everything out of it and you're not getting nothing out of it, that's when you need to make a change and be like, no, hold up. I got needs too. Like, I want a friend in life. I want us to be friends. I want to get to know you more. Like, why am I just met you. You want me to give my body away? But it's so common, it's just so common for people to give their body away to where men expect it. They expect it so much because it's so common. But no, ladies, really think about it. Like, that's how you should be reacting. Like, hold up. Are you asking for my body? You got to make that man feel really dumb. Like, are you asking to get my body? Whoa, we're not married. Why would you ask me of that? That's a lot. That's really a lot. Like, you have to really make him feel dumb for asking for that. Then he's going to be like, oh, well, he's going to feel real dumb. Hopefully he'll feel really dumb. And if he's a jerk, he's probably going to react like a jerk. But if he reacts in the end the way I did it, like, okay, yeah, you know what, you're right. I didn't mean to offend you. Yeah. Because a lot of guys like testing you too to see all what you allow. But if he treats you with some respect after you say that, then you'll know you probably got a good guy. He was just testing you. Because even good guys test you because, they've had a handful of women that has with no self-worth that will be willing to give them what they want. So now, in case you're wondering why I did that and what the heck does that have to do with the system, I'm about to explain myself because now I want to go into the Q&A. I want to go into the Q&A and why knowing your worth has anything to do with the system. And let me just say that the man that was asking for some loving, there was another word that I used, but I think it's just the fact that I'm doing a live video right now is probably why I feel kind of uncomfortable of using that word. Because if I used it, it'll probably be more realistic to the women hearing this stuff. But it's just a live video makes me kind of uncomfortable to use that word. But just know that the guy that expected sex or asked, because he was really just testing you to see. Now, if you like, no, let's go out on another day. I want to get to know you. Now he knows, okay, this might be a real woman because she wants to get to know me. She not about to. She just don't want to. She don't want to just be with me for no phone bill. She want to see me again or whatever he might think. And if he chooses not to see you again because you want to get to know him some more, wow, that was really a bad guy. You really got a bad guy. That's really a bad guy. Not even worth your time. If you don't hear from him no more after that, because you said no, don't feel bad. It's not, he's not even worth your time. Trust me. It's actually a blessing that God made him not contact you no more. It's a blessing. Trust me. But I was gonna say with that situation, that oftentimes that happens with a guy with a really nice car. Guys with really nice cars are used to women falling all over them, and it's like the woman wants to have sex with the car. She falls in love with the car because the rims are big. And I'm speaking from experience. Like she's not used to seeing shiny stuff like that, or a man offering her. She's just not used to it. And so when she sees it, sometimes it's the car that she's kind of like, whoa, hey, so just be careful of that. Okay. Now, if anything of this lesson did not make any sense to you of why I mentioned whatever I mentioned, I wanted to cover in the Q&A, and that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't want to go into too much detail of my thoughts on all the information that I mentioned because I didn't want to give all my answers away. Now, what was I gonna say? I got about 19. I have 19 questions. Wow, that's a lot. This is probably the most questions I've done for the Q&A. So I really want to make this quick because when I be answering it, sometimes I go in detail with my answers. But that's a lot of questions, so I'm trying to make this quick for y'all so I'm not like overwhelming y'all with too much information. So the first question is, what is a system? Well, I already mentioned that the system, and I wrote the definition down, but it's a method. And I'm going to say this in my own kind of way. It's a method or a way of doing things with a set of rules set up for the people that live in it. That's my way of saying what the system is. It's a way of how people can maintain in life and live a successful life. It's there for that reason, I believe. Number 2, why is the system here? Well, the system is here because Adam and Eve, it's their fault. It's here because they chose to do what they did. That's why we have an unjust system, because of Adam and Eve. It became unjust the moment they chose to ignore God's rules. The tree that they wasn't supposed to touch. They had so many other trees, but they wanted to be greedy. That's why the system is here, because of them. How can this system help us? How can this system help us? You know what? The system, it really can help us. Like, I used to complain a lot about, my experience being in the foster system. My main complaint was not feeling loved. seemed like that was my complaint. Um, Although I am the one that, I don't want to say this, but I'm the one that made the choice to be a part of it. I'm the one that made the phone call. I made the phone call because I wanted a better life for myself. So, me making the phone call, honestly, my intentions had nothing to do with love. Like, when I really think about what was going through my mind, I was tired of struggling and living in the streets or living in shelters and moving around. I used to move around a lot and I was tired of it. So by the time I was 16, I was already tired. I was tired, you know? And never once, I don't believe, no, it had nothing to do with, oh my God, I'm going to find love in the system. No, that wasn't even a thought of mine. That wasn't my reason of wanting to be in a system. My reason was to find stability, and I wanted to graduate high school. So, did that help me? It did, because I graduated high school and other great things happened. That's how it helped me. And that's just talking about the foster system. That's a small part of the system. That's not even the whole system. Remember, I mentioned we got the court system, the prison system, the school system, the transportation system, we got all of that makes up the system. But the foster system, that's just a part of it. But you know, feels like even before I made that choice, it kind of already felt like I was already in the system. Even living with my family, it already felt like I was a part of it. That's the weird part. But anyways, that's my answer. How can this system help? Um, I believe the foster system can help a person find stability. If you're looking for love, oh my God, try not to sin. And I know that sounds like I'm expecting a lot of you if I say try not to sin, but I'm telling you, if you try your best to do the right thing every day, it might bring you closer to your foster family because now they see a good example in the house and they want to be close to you. But if you sin, you might not get that love that you're looking for. So then you might want to blame the foster home, but then you got to look at yourself like, well, what was I doing behind closed doors that they probably knew and maybe stayed away? I mean, I'm just saying. So it could help. That's just an example of how the system can help. Um, I want to mention the jail system too. That helped. Uh, okay, how did the jail system? It helped me too. Wow, believe it or not. I mean, it helped me get closer to God and depend on God even more. When I saw it, I didn't get no visitors, and I didn't call too many people. I probably called like maybe two people, but I was expecting both people to do something. Come save me. It was probably only like maybe two. I believe it was only either two or three people. Could have been two, but still, I was expecting both of them to do something. But when that didn't happen, it brought me closer to God. You know, that's probably like one of my best testimonies ever is being released from jail and feeling like I need you, God. You actually saved me. You helped, you freed me. Wow. What else can you do for me? I'm going to depend on you more. That's really what I was thinking when I got out. I was like, oh my, looking, feeling freedom and stuff. And I'm thinking about, no, God got me out of here. That's what I kept telling I'm like, I don't care what nobody say. Nobody came and got me out of here. God did. God did. So it did something to me mentally, and doesn't mean that all my flaws or whatever I felt I need to change about myself happened overnight. That's not what that meant. But I knew it was the beginning of me becoming closer to God because I knew he was all I had, and he helped me. So no, that was a blessing. But for some people, jail might make them worse, and now they're become this vengeful person that's resenting everyone and want to kill people when they get out or whatever. But I think I believe it's for someone that already had a good heart and something happened in their life, whatever it was. Something happened in their life to where they ended up in that position, and they get out and they're like, oh my God, I don't belong in there. I don't belong in there, God. You help me. You don't ever want to go back in there. I mean, I know I don't. So it changed me. So I would say for that reason, I think that's why jail is supposed to be like jail, to make you not want to go back, to make you not want to do what you did, so you can change. It's not supposed to be a happy, fun place, because if it's a happy, fun place, it'll make you want to stay. So I don't think it should have nice, good pizza and parties and TVs, and it shouldn't have fun stuff in there, because then you get too comfortable. Like, hey, I can't wait to go to jail, y'all. I have somewhere to, and I know some people be thinking this way. I have somewhere to live. I've been out in the streets. I can't wait till they lock me up. At least I have a cell to sleep in. Some people go to jail so much that it's become a part of their life to where they're looking forward to get locked up, because at least they know they'll have someone to sleep. That's really sad. That's really, really sad. Because it shouldn't, I don't think jail should encourage, I mean, someone has to be really mentally gone to think that way. It shouldn't encourage you to want to ever go back. So that's my answer. The foster system and the jail system both help me. Now, I want to say this real quick, before I move on to my next question. No, the system didn't help me to find love, but guess what? That's not why I entered. So when I really when I think about it, it doesn't make me feel bad, because I'll be like, wait a minute, Destiny, did you ever call to get love? No, you got tired of moving around and you wanted stability, remember? So the fact that you didn't get love, it was supposed to happen that way, because that's not why you went into it, remember? Makes a lot of sense. Then I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. But well, like I said, if you are searching for love and you're in the system, just do what I say. Do what I say. Don't sin. And I know that sounds kind of impossible, but it is possible. When I say don't sin, I'm not asking you to be perfect. But what I mean is just try to do the right thing. Um and maybe my life is different. So I don't want to say everybody else's situation is going to be just like mine. I feel like I've been under the microscope for, maybe I haven't. I've probably started feeling like this for about the past few years, though. You know, um, but anywho, that's my answer of how the system can help us. That's my answer. Number 4. What is sin, and how does using the B word create negative consequences? Okay, so we know sin is, okay, so sin is something that you do that God doesn't approve of. And what I mean is, okay, fornication, stealing, lying, slander, um, blasphemy against God, worshiping other gods and not God. Think of the 10 Commandments. I'll make it simple for you, because I know a lot of people, when they say they read the whole Bible, it's a lot in there. But no, I mean, it is a lot. But really, if you just follow the basic 10 Commandments, everything else will fall into place. Really. Think of those 10 Commandments, right? That is, if you don't do that. When I talked about King David, of course he sinned, right? But the difference between him and other people, he didn't make a practice of that sin. That's why God considered him a friend, because, okay, he made it a bad choice, right? He sinned, but then he repented, and then he got back up and tried again. And then it happened again. And I'm not saying right away it happened again. Um, because he was human and he was really lonely. I know he was really lonely. That's why he did what he did. He didn't, you know. Um, so what I'm saying is you might be like King David. You might be like, let's say you fornicate and then 3 years later, then you go without fornicating for 3, 4 years. That means you're doing the right thing, right? And then all of a sudden you fornicate again. Damn, that's sin again, right? But within those 3, 4 years, you were not making a practice of it. That's King David. But let's say you're fornicating often, consecutively for 4 years. You're making a practice of it. It's going to be very difficult for God to call you his friend when you're doing that because it's going to make you further away from him. And you're not, I mean, for so many different reasons. So I wanted to just say the difference between making a practice of sin and sinning, but then repenting. There's a completely different, because I've heard people say, well, King David, he killed and they be sounding dumb like this too. He killed Bathsheba's husband and had sex with her. You know what I'm saying? So if he could do that, I could do this. It's like, no, that story is here as a lesson for you to learn from, not for you to repeat. It's here for you to be like, oh, damn, let me not do that. you know, and then they can justify and say, well, God was still his friend. But no, listen, God was still his friend, but they get it twisted thinking they could do that as an everyday thing, like every weekend they hooking up with somebody and God's gonna forgive them because he forgave King David. King David wasn't doing that every weekend. There's a long period of time that passed by before he ended up making another bad choice. That's the difference. And as merciful and understanding God is, he knew that King David was human. So he didn't, he actually felt bad for him because he knew why he did what he did. I just wanted to say that. How does using the B word create negative consequences? Well, yes. With my experience using the B word, man. Yeah, something about that B word. Once you say it, then it's just like it gives other, like you might feel like you're experiencing some kind of injustice, and you probably are. Like seriously, you probably really are experiencing some level of injustice, or your rights may be violated. But the moment you say "bitch," the moment you say that word, now whoever's violating your rights or treating you wrong, now they can justify it. Now they can say, see, that's what I did, because look how you acting. Or they can become worse, or they can do something else to you. And all the people that's watching might not feel bad because you didn't already use the B word. And it's going to make you look bad because it's going to make you look like a hateful person, even though you feel like you're defending yourself because that person did what they did. But I'm telling you, something about that B word. I write. If you ever seen any of my diss tracks of my Freestyle Fridays back in 2017 or 2018, if you type in Nomadic Divine and you check out my diss tracks, you'll probably hear me using the B word. I really don't like using that word no more. Even in my songs, I'm really careful because I'd be like, wait, what's going to happen? If you use this, what's going to happen? So I'd be really like careful about using that B word. Just be careful. Question 5. Why should we respect the higher powers in this system? So when I say the higher power, I'm not talking about God or Jesus. I'm talking about, and those are the higher powers of what I know as a higher power. However, the Bible mentions other higher powers, which are, and I named it in the beginning of this, the president, the mayor, governor, judges, Congress, and hey, even the media. That's what I mentioned, that those people make up the system. There's many, many more. We got anyways, there's many, many more, but those are the main ones that came to my mind. Those people are actually considered higher powers in this system of things. Not saying they are God or Jesus, but they are higher powers in this system of things. Why should we respect them? Well, I want to read a scripture real quick, and I probably read this before, but it pertains to this. It really pertains to this. So, if you have a Bible, and I'm going on 2 hours, so hopefully I don't go too far past 2 hours. But I'm gonna try to make this quick. Let's see. Okay, so if you could turn to the book of Romans, chapter 13. Try to do that. Try to do that. Romans 13. It states. Okay, so Romans 13 is talking about the authorities. It states that let every person be in subjection to the superior authorities. For there is no authority except by God. The existing authorities stand placed in their relative positions by God. Therefore, whoever opposes the authority has taken a stand against the arrangement of God. Those who have taken a stand against it will bring judgment against themselves. For those rulers are an object of fear, not to the good deed, but to the bad. Do you want to be free of fear of the authority? Keep doing good, and you will have praise from it. For it is God's minister to you for your good. But if you are doing what is bad, be in fear. For it is not without purpose that it bears the sword. It is God's minister and an avenger to express wrath against the one practicing what is bad. I want to read this part of verse 6 where it states that that is why you are also paying taxes, for they are God's public servants, constantly serving this very purpose. There you go. That's why. That's why we should respect the authorities, or also known as the higher powers. A lot of them are God's people. I mean, it just stated it right there. God's public servants constantly serving this very purpose. That tax collectors, a lot of them are God's servants. So when you go against them, then you are going against the arrangement that God set in place. That's a scripture. Romans chapter 13. If you don't believe me, read it for yourself. Okay, not only are you going against God, okay, but it's stated that when you do bad, you should be in fear of something bad happening to you. When you do good, you ain't got nothing to worry about. That's really what it's saying. When you do good, you don't have nothing to worry about. You're fine. But the moment you slip up and you start doing bad stuff, man, now you have to fear, because guess what? It's a lot of people that they want to do something to you, something bad to you in those higher powers. But you want to make the good people in the higher powers proud and motivate them to want to protect you. So do the right thing. Question 6. Who really created this system? Okay. So this is kind of like, it sounds like a repeat of question 2, why I said, why is this system here? But it's a little different. Like, who really? Adam and Eve created it. However, God is the author of all things. So it's like it exists because of God, if that makes sense. Like, the system wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Adam and Eve. However, if it wasn't for Adam and Eve, I'm sorry, hold on. I said that backwards. If it wasn't for God, Adam and Eve wouldn't be here. You get what I'm saying? So in a way, They created it by sinning. So when people complain about how unjust the system is, it's like humans created the system to be this way because they thought they can do a better job without God. They did. However, God kind of create, when I say kind of, it's like he allowed it, and he's continuing to allow it for his own purpose. He knew it was going to happen. So he's a part of the creation in a way. In a way. Of course, the perfect system, which was the Garden of Eden, he directly created that himself. But it's kind of like the devil, like God created the devil, which his name, was something different in heaven. He created him, but in a way, the devil made himself the devil by having those wicked thoughts, right? Or so he made himself that, but God was the one that ultimately created him. So God's still the author. You get what I'm saying? So it kind of works together in a way. Are all foster homes bad? You know what? I don't believe so. I don't really want to say that the foster home I was in was bad. I think a child not really receiving love is bad. However, I'm different. I'm not really an outgoing person. And this is not to blame myself again, but really it's just accountability. I don't want to use the word blame too much, but it's really just me being accountable. It's like I'm different. I'm not that outgoing like some children have been, or I'm an adult now, but I'm saying like as a child, I was not that outgoing either. Like very shy and a loner, weird, outcast type of person. So even if people really did try, and some of them probably did try to get to know me and want to get close, I probably was like blocking it due to the fact that, like I said, you don't see any awards or posters, or it's plain in here for a reason. I've developed a mentality of I don't want to get comfortable here because I might not be here long. And when I was there, I had that same mentality. Like, I don't want to get to know these people because I'm going to end up moving. And guess what? I did move. So I was right. I was right. But, it's possible I could have still did something to get close to people, but I blocked myself from it purposely because I knew, hey, if I get really close to these people and then end up leaving and they live their own lives and no one's trying to stay like family with me, and it's just like business, and that's all it is, and it's not like real, my heart is going to be broken, and I don't want to do that to myself. So I purposely like blocked it. So I did that, So what I'm saying is, it's possible you might be able to receive love in a foster home if you allow yourself to and get close to people. However, just be aware that you may have to leave at some point in time. You're not going to be there forever, and you better hope that those people want to still be in your life. You better hope that means something to them, and it's not really just a business, and it's not really just about making money, bringing in kids for money thing, because then you might be devastated when no one's trying to see you or contact you or whatever. And I was purposely trying to prevent that. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I don't want to say that they're all bad. And that was just one. I was in some other ones briefly, but that was the one I was in the most time. So that's why I talk about that a lot. Number 8. Why do children usually leave or run away from home? I think I already mentioned this during the outline, but usually it's because they don't feel loved. If they don't feel love, the moment they do find a boyfriend or someone giving them some kind of attention, Oh, that's their perfect excuse to leave. They're gonna find every the you know they're gonna find any little thing to try to leave and escape to that boyfriend, hoping that that boyfriend is the one that's gonna give them what they've been missing their whole life. However, you do have some children that's just not looking for love, and maybe they might just really don't want to do what their parents say and they just be a runaway. That's different. But I'm speaking from my experience. My experience, I believe there's a lot of other children out there that might experience that and not feel loved. And now you know, they're compelled to leave because now they have someone in their life and they're hoping that someone gives them what they've been wanting. That happens often. I really believe it happens often. Yes. So that's why I think they leave. Question 9. Um, when is the best time to teach our children about fornication and why it's dangerous? You know what? Uh, I would say the best time is when they're young, when they can understand, when they begin understanding stuff like 5, 6, 7. Yeah, you should talk to them soon. Why wait until they get to that age to where they want to do it? That's stupid. Like, that's dumb. Why wait? I think you should tell them way ahead of time so they be prepared. So when they start going through their hormonal changes and feeling some kind of way about a guy, they'll already have the knowledge there. Not saying that they won't make bad choices, because I mean, who really is perfect at that age, right? However, at least after their bad choices and they see the consequences, they can think back to what their parents taught them, and then hopefully they might return home or connect with their parents and, oh, mom, I remember whatever, you know, they, it'll, the knowledge will probably stay there. Um, but yeah, no, I'm, because I've had people, not too many people, but I've heard people say stuff like, that's too young to be talking to a child about sex. And it's like, I'm not, you know what, I don't agree on that. Like, I'm not even sitting here trying to encourage a child to have sex and say, hey, you should use condoms. No, I'm telling them the dangers of fornicating at such a young age. I'm telling them the dangers. You should definitely tell somebody that as soon as they begin really understanding stuff, like really at a young age. Because I've heard people fornicating and having sex at the age of 8, or even 12. So you need to tell them as soon as possible, hey, if you can tell a child it's bad to steal, do not steal that again. Then you should still tell them, do not ever fornicate. It's in the 10 Commandments. It's a part of the 10 Commandments. So I don't see anything wrong with it because it's it's a sin. What? It's like, it's a sin. It's like, don't ever kill nobody. Would you feel comfortable telling your 6-year-old why you should never get upset and kill your brother the way that Cain killed Abel? Yeah, you should tell him so next time he start getting jealous, he don't make that bad choice. But are you going to wait until he grown where he've already developed his own way of thinking? It's going to be too late. He ain't going to want to hear nothing. If he 18, you trying to teach him something, then he ain't going to want to hear nothing you got to say. You got to do it while he's way younger. So if you could tell him about don't kill, don't steal, yeah, you could tell him don't fornicate. Like, what's the big deal? Like, what? Yeah, you need to tell him that. 10. Why are there so many single parent households, mostly in poverty stricken neighborhoods? Okay, so this is why I want to, the thing I mentioned in the Q&A of oh man, the thing I mentioned in the Q&A, I mean, not the Q&A, I'm sorry, a part of that reenactment, that short, brief reenactment of the woman, it's a car ride, the woman getting in the car with someone she just met, and he's asking for sex, and you know, she wants him to do something for her to show her that he cares somewhat about him. Hey, can you pay my phone bill? She wants to see if he cares something about her. Can you do that? Right. And then eventually she has sex with him after her phone bill is paid. Okay. Oftentimes this happens, and single parent. Why are there so many single parent households, mostly in poverty stricken neighborhoods? Well, for that reason, people have sex with someone too quickly without really getting to know the person. And then they might have children by that person. And then they start to realize as the years go by that they really don't like that person. Now they have children, and now they have to deal with that person. And now they are a single parent. They might be struggling financially or whatever, struggling mentally, whatever it is. All because they decided to have sex with that person too quickly. And it might not be as quick as that situation. Let's say the person wait. If you ignore red flags and you still have sex with someone, dang. Don't ignore things that are suspicious to you. Just don't ignore it. If your gut feeling is telling you like, you know what, something ain't right, or I need to wait and this person is pressuring me to do it right now or whatever. It's really about just I really believe that's why there's so many single parent households in like the ghettos and stuff. It's sin. It's sin. Um, and yeah, we're talking about people that's not married. Um, Oftentimes, people in the African, and I use this a lot because I grew up in Detroit, African American community don't know their worth. They don't know their worth. They don't. There's some women that might be happy to get a bucket of fried chicken and just so happy, like, okay. And they end up sleeping with the guy over a bucket of chicken. I mean, because they felt like the guy showed that he cared so much by getting them some food, and now they want to be intimate with him. I'm not surprised, but it happens, and I really think it has a lot to do with a person's self worth and how they see themselves and how they value themselves. Some women don't think about it like this, and like they don't think like I'm only worth a bucket of chicken. They're not thinking that way. They're not looking in the mirror saying I'm only worth a bucket of fried chicken. They're not thinking that way. They probably thinking like, oh, my man came over and got me some fried chicken, girl. Yeah. That's how they thinking. But in a way, that's what you're saying, that all you're worth is a bucket of fried chicken because you gave your body away for it. And now when you struggling and your man ain't there to pick up the pieces and to help you and your kids, it's because guess what? You settled for a bucket of fried chicken. And it happens a lot. But I understand though, because when you grow up and you don't, if there's no real love in the household and a person has low self-esteem or they don't know their worth, how would they know of what they're supposed to settle for? How would they know what the requirements of would be when meeting a new guy? How would they know? Unless someone teach them that. So someone has to have the education. And I'm not saying go to school, some kind of street knowledge or something. Somebody need to have the education to teach them like, hey girl, you really settling for buckets of chicken? Are you kidding me? Don't you want to anyways, I was gonna say that with one of my other questions, but maybe I could say it with this one. Like, yeah, don't you want to live with your man? Don't you want to be a family with him? Don't you want to really be loved with him? Have him love on you more? If you settle for a bucket of fried chicken, you know, you're not gonna get the love that you want. You're not. Cause then all he know is all I gotta do is buy her this bucket of fried chicken and she gonna have sex with me. That's all I gotta do. So, You you gotta know your worth, and that's really why it happens, because I think it's a lack of knowledge or lack of education. But I guarantee you, if you go in a nicer area, maybe in the white area or Caucasian area or just other nicer areas, and you see families look more like families rather than broken families, because those women have been educated by other women. I guarantee you, somebody educated them, and they know their worth, to know that they belong in the home with the man. They deserve that ring or that commitment or understanding rather than just a bucket of fried chicken. So, but if you're in a household and your parents, and you're in the ghetto or you're in Detroit, your parents is not teaching you your worth, or really teaching you, yeah, all you're gonna feel like is, that you're worth a bucket of fried chicken. And I'm laughing, but I mean, it's not funny, but I mean, maybe it is, but it's not really when you really think about it. So, anywho, that's what I believe when it comes to single parent households. It's sin. And when I say sin, I'm talking about a woman not knowing her worth, and she give it away so quickly without requiring the man to do anything. Like, girl, you just gave away a bag of gold to get a bucket of fried chicken. Now he walking around with this bag of gold, and your chicken, you already done ate it up. You ate it all up, and now you hungry again, and you gotta hope that he's gonna see you again uh for the next week. You gotta hope he's gonna see you again to get another bucket of chicken. Cause he might not, cause he already got his gold. He already got his gold. Anywho, moving on. Um 11. How can we create a perfect system? Well, that's the thing. We can't. However, there will be a perfect system that will be created. It will be here when this system of things is gone away with. So, after Armageddon comes and God intervenes in that way. Because I feel like, I believe he's already intervening right now, but I mean in a way where Armageddon is the start of him demolishing this system of things. That's the beginning of him tearing everything apart. And now he is taking it back to where how things were meant to be in the Garden of Eden, in this perfect paradise, perfect system. That's the only way we can create a perfect system. I could try my best to be a good example. I could try my best to motivate other people. However, doesn't mean that everybody is going to change. You can try your best. Doesn't mean everyone's going to change. It doesn't mean the system, I mean, some things in the system might change. I really believe things in the system can change significantly when we are a good example. However, I don't believe it'll create a perfect system. No, not a perfect one. 12. Should we blame the president for the system's problems? Okay, look, let me tell you something. Uh, no, because the president isn't the one that created the system. He's not. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. There has been times in my past where I've made comments. But just know that some of the comments I've made, I just know that I was living in when I was living in darkness. There's a lot of things that I've said that when I look back, I'd be like, damn, I said that. I mean, and a lot of stuff I meant, a lot of it I meant. Even living in darkness, I could still agree with a lot of stuff that I said. However, some of the stuff, like when it comes to like the president, it's like I have to really think about it. It's like, wait a minute. The president did not create this system, even though we are inheriting the bad choices that Adam and Eve created, right? So we can be a part of the problem, right? But he didn't create it. Um, let's say the president is doing some stuff that you don't like. Guess what? You have the power. When I say you, I mean me, you, him, she, her, them. We all have the power to change. And when I say change, I don't mean, yeah, we can do something to change the system, but it doesn't mean it's going to make it a perfect system. That's really what I'm saying. Not a perfect system. I think blaming the president is just a waste of time, because whatever the president decides to do and whatever he's successful at, I really believe it's because God allowed it to happen. You know, even if it's something bad, it's like God allows stuff to happen. It's not done without his approval. So I wouldn't even be too focused on that. I really wouldn't. I would be more focused on, okay, I don't like what this person's doing, but what can I do to be a part of the change, right? And the reason why I mentioned the president, I don't have no problem with the president. I try not to get too deep into what when it comes to politics and stuff and what people are saying, because it might be something that I might not understand, and I'll be like, okay, well, that sounds like I'm that'll make my head hurt trying to figure out what the hell they're talking about. But reason why I mentioned president, because I oftentimes I hear it a lot with people doing that, and it's like I guess they can do it if they want to, because we all have freedom of speech, you know. But I just think it's a waste of time. It's like if you want change, we all gotta be a part of that change, you know. Um, and then it's like whatever a person is doing in the dark, it'll always come to light. But I think the more we focused on a person and what they're doing, the more we get lost in that person. We get lost in it versus let me focus on how I can be a great role model or person, a great example in the system. You know, now you're being productive. Um, okay, 13. Who is to blame for this system of things? And are cameras a bad thing? Uh, who is to blame? We are. We are to blame for this system of things. When Adam and Eve, they were humans, we're humans. You know, whatever we do comes back to us. It could be negative or it could be good. But whatever we put out there, it returns to us. That's that whole Newton's third law, which you learn in science, or the reap what you sow, which you learn in the Bible, which is the same thing. It's like whatever you do will be returned to you, good or bad. So if a person's worried about something bad happening and now they're like, oh, the system is messed up, it's like, well, what did you do? Like, that's what I'd be thinking. Like, what did you do? Why did that happen? You had to have done something. You've done something. And this is usually stuff I might be asking myself this, like, damn, what did you? And then once I figured it out, I'd be like, oh, okay. Life seems to be more smoothly when we make good choices. Then we won't find ourselves in the position to where we have to blame somebody else or be upset. And hey, you know what? There are times where you might blame someone else for what they do to you. That's perfectly normal. If they do something personal to you, I think I think it's normal, but I'm just saying don't stay stuck in that for too long. It's like, okay, make your comment, but get up and try to do something about it. Like, okay, now what? What you gonna do? Like, you know, do something about it. Um, I said, are cameras a bad thing? No. You know that song by Michael Jackson? The song by Michael Jackson. We I always feel like somebody's watching me, you know. When I personally began to realize there's so many cameras, and even so many cameras, some of them that I might not even see. I literally be looking around at everywhere thinking, is there a camera in this? Is there a camera in that? Like how you know, stuff that's not even visible to the eye. I've like meditated on, is it possible someone could have put a small little camera on this that looks so tiny like a dot, and they watching me from this? You know, you might drive yourself crazy thinking that way when you first start figuring out and seeing like how things really truly are. However, I know for me personally, a lot of my bad choices have changed due to the fact that I knew people were watching me. And then a lot of stuff that I used to do, I no longer do just because I know I feel like I'm being watched everywhere I'm at all the time. Even when there's no visible cameras, in my mind, there's still some camera in there some kind of way. And it kind of forced me to do the right thing. Not saying that I didn't do the right thing before. I was more so like David, like, oh, I got my moment where I'm doing this, and now I'm back on track. And now I'm doing this, but I'm back on track. Right. But now I'm like not even on King David mode. I'm on some Jesus mode. When I say Jesus mode, it's like, no, I ain't about to be slipping up. I'm gonna have a consistent, I want to have a consistent next 10 years where I'm like not having no slip ups, none of that. That's my goal. But I really believe that the cameras played a huge part in that, because having a conscience, and I'm still human too, but just having a conscience and knowing that people are watching would really make you think twice of what you look at on your phone. you know it's like, okay, time to shut this down. And that helped me. When I think about it, it's like I could be upset. People can complain about privacy and not having privacy, but in reality, I don't complain about the privacy thing because I know that it has actually helped me. It's actually helped me to not want to do certain things no more. So the cameras that are in place can help you. And now if a person say, oh man, they taking away my rights, there ain't no privacy, they doing this, they are watching, that's messed up, I got rights, then it's like, then one can argue and say, well, what you got to hide? Like, what are you doing in your life where you so angry and mad that people are watching you? Because when you get to the point to where you ain't got no dirt on you, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got no dirt on you, and people are watching you, you're gonna be looking forward to knowing that people are watching you. Because it's like, not saying, hey, look at me, I'm all that, not like that, but it's just like your conscience is going to become cleaner and cleaner and more pure and pure, to where now you don't have that guilt on you, like, oh my god, you know what I'm saying, like, you're going to be confident to know, okay, you watched me all week, and what did you see me do? Did I do it? If you ain't doing nothing illegal and no sinful stuff, but let's just say we're talking about legal stuff, you ain't doing nothing like that, you ain't got nothing to worry about, and you probably wouldn't even be upset. So that's honestly why I think cameras are actually a good thing. And I think if people really were aware that they're in places where you don't even realize it, I'm telling you, try sitting on the toilet in a grocery store, or sit on the toilet in McDonald's. You think it ain't no cameras up in there? I mean, you might not, but just having that mentality, get what I'm saying? Having that mentality, thinking, okay, you don't see cameras inside the bathroom stall like you do behind the counter of McDonald's, right? But if you have the mentality of, oh, they can't see me, and you start doing some weird stuff or some illegal stuff, that's where you start slipping up. But if you have the mentality of, are there cameras in here too? because I have a good way of feeling energy. I feel like I'm being watched, even though I don't like. I can feel it. Not everybody's like that. Me, I can feel it. Like I might not be able to see no cameras in here, but for some reason, I feel like a million eyes are on me right now. I just feel the energy of a million eyes. Is that weird or what? But you have to have that mentality, and that's a true story for me. I really do be feeling that way. I can feel the energy, but I think it's a good thing because then now you're like, and then before you know it, now the next few years you're just like, oh wow, I haven't committed no serious sin in like 5 years or 3 years or however long it's been, right? Whoa, I guarantee you those cameras may have a lot to do with it. Just saying. So no, I don't think they're a bad thing. No. Um okay, does question 14, does protest and demonstrations change this system? My opinion is no. I think they add more anger and frustration and confusion to the system. I really believe they add more confusion and more you know drama. When you watch the news and you see all these protests and demonstrations, a lot of people are going to be like entertained. It's entertaining seeing a crowd. I'm not gonna lie, even me, when I see it, I'll be like, dang, look at all those people. Like, it's entertaining. Like, whoa, what they doing? It's entertaining. But will it really change this system? Will they really get what they want out of doing that? No, I don't believe. I Some cases are different, so I'm not speaking for everybody, but I don't believe that it's no, not no protests, striking, demonstration. I don't believe that's the way to go. I don't. I think that, like I said, it adds more confusion to things and more violence. So when you see police officers or ICE people or whatever you call them doing what they do, or the National Guard in the streets, because now let's say the demonstrations and protests have become unlawful and people are on the freeways where the vehicles need to drive. Like, I've seen this. They're doing something and they to where they make it unlawful. There's a difference between a peaceful demonstration and an unlawful one. When they get to that point and now you have all these officers or National Guard people, it, like I said, it causes more confusion. It causes violence. Now people are wanting to fight and getting locked up. See, I only see bad things happening from it. That's my opinion. That's what I see. I don't ever see nothing good coming from protests and demonstrations. I always see it's always a bad thing. It's like, oh, somebody got knocked out or somebody got locked up or someone lit a fire. It's always a bad thing. I don't ever see nothing good that comes out of that stuff. 15. Why is love so important and relevant to this system of things? Oh, yes, that's a good question. Why is love so important and relevant to this system of things? Okay. Love is important because that's a good question. Um, when a man loves a woman, he's going to treat her right. And of course, let's factor into the part where the woman knows her self-worth and she requires an understanding of the man, of them being official, like official couple, and requires what it takes for them to be an official couple. Like, hey, you ain't about to play me. This, come on now. I'm not no chicken head out there expecting fried chicken for some sex. That's not what I am. You know what I'm saying? So she has to play her part too. Okay. She has to. Um, but when there's love involved in that, just a personal relationship, that has a lot to do with the relevancy of this system of things. It's families united together. Why? Why do you think that is? Because now we don't have to talk about the foster system. We don't have to talk about the jail and prison system. If you have a family that's united with each other, they won't need that system. You get what I'm saying? They'll have their family together. Now they can totally rely on God and what's expected of them from God. Um, Court system. Let's say somebody committed a crime. Now they got to go to court, and they're involved in a court system. They committed a crime. If they had love with their neighbor or their enemy, they probably wouldn't have killed somebody, or they probably wouldn't have hit someone or something. So love is a huge factor that plays into the system of things. You won't have to deal with the court system. Um, like I said, having a understanding with the man and the woman being in a relationship, right? Now you won't have to worry about someone being taken to court for child support. That's still being a part of the system, because now you have it could be a man. Most oftentimes you might hear of a woman bitter or resenting the man because he don't want her no more, or it didn't work out, or whatever situation is, right? Now she want to take him back to court as much as she can. She want to make him pay, or she want to do whatever she can to make him pay and keep him in that system. That happens with broken families. And now she's being bitter about it. It happens with men too. They do that to the woman. I don't want to go into too many, I don't want to go into too much detail with who I know personally that's going through this, but I know a woman can go through it too, with the man being bitter and be vengeful and sue her for child support. Now she's in the system and she's suffering financially, all because of a broken family. Now she's in the system. It's really sad. But, I would have to say, you know, the lesson is, next time, ladies, you decide to get with someone, make sure this is someone you really truly want to marry, and make sure you make it happen some kind of way. Y'all living in the same home, because once you start having kids and y'all in separate homes, that's a bad sign. It can only go downhill from there. It's going to get worse. Living in separate homes and you have children together, that makes no sense to me. That's already a broken family. But having another child and another child, that's the woman not even having an understanding of her worth. So just understand that you're worthy to live with the man that you're having a child with. That's the way it's supposed to be. And if not, the moment you decide to separate from him, and this could happen to a lot of men, okay? I often hear this happen to a lot of men, but it's a woman I know. I'm very close to this woman. It's happened with her. And once you decide to separate from that person, male or female, whatever the situation is, you decide to separate and no longer want to be with them or have any children by them, and it's done. You guys are separated, and there was never no marriage, but you are officially separated and you already made up your mind, right? Now you have to worry about that person coming after you for vengeance. And now you have to worry about how long you're going to be in the system and what they're going to do for whatever power trip. That's a consequence of broken family, not being married to the person, not living with the person. So it's like, let's try not to do that again. Let's try not to do that again. 16. Why are there so many questions in this Q&A? Yes. You know what? I'm looking at the time and I'm like, uh-oh. Oh my God. I guess I didn't realize this was gonna go on as long as it did, but hey, it is what it is. It's a lot of juicy stuff in here. Um, why are there so many questions in this Q&A? Well, you know what? Because I'm talking about the system, and we have been living in the system since the beginning of time, since Adam and Eve. So there was a lot of things that I felt like I needed to cover in this. There's a lot of things that I felt like I needed to mention, and it probably wouldn't, I probably wouldn't do myself any justice if I didn't mention what I needed to mention. So that's why there's so many questions in this Q&A based off all the information that I already shared. 17. How can watching the movie The Matrix help us? Okay, so I mentioned The Matrix last week if you watched any of my previous videos, and I'm mentioning it again because when I mentioned The Matrix, it made me think of the system. And that's why I'm having this talk now, because I'm like, oh, the system. Yes, I want to talk about the system. If you ever watched the movie Matrix, and I'm sure you probably have seen it, the Matrix was a system, you know, and my thoughts on how it could help us is like, okay, in that part where the agents were looking for Neo, he was in his cubicle desk at work, and he kind of ducked and got low because he saw that they were looking for him. And I believe that was one of the scenes where he was on the phone with Morpheus, and Morpheus is telling him, like, these people are looking for you, get out. So Morpheus was encouraging him to run from the agents, right? And Morpheus, this is a guy he didn't even know. But you got all these agents in suits looking for Neo. Neo was supposed to be a good citizen, really and your average good citizen, just kind of just living his life, minding his own business. And they were looking for him. So now we have the interrogation room of the agents, and you have Neo sitting there. And Neo gets an attitude like when the agents say they admit that they need his help, and whatever that he has done in his past, they can give him a free, clean slate, like a whole fresh new start. And instead of being like, okay, cool, his reaction was more like, really? I ain't got to do nothing for y'all. And I really believe it had a lot to do with that phone call with Morpheus. Yeah, you already got somebody in your ear saying these people are looking for you, they're no good. And now it's like when the people catch you and they say that they need you, you're like, F you, I ain't got to do nothing y'all say. Like, what? You're about to control me, that type of thing. So me seeing that as a kid, I don't think it made as much sense as it does now to me. As a kid, I used to look at the agents like the bad people, because that's the way the movie Matrix, that's the way that they portray the agents. Like, I mean, and to me, agents could be FBI agents, they can be maybe undercover police officers or police, CIA. It's all connected. That's my thought, is it's all really connected in some kind of way. And that movie portrays them as the bad people. And so now you got this mystery Morpheus, someone you don't even know, that you believe in, and you don't even know this mystery person. But me watching the movie recently, and when I say recently, I'm saying maybe it was a year ago, or maybe it was, I'm trying to remember when I actually watched the full movie, but I watched it recently. And I was like, wait a minute. Agents didn't seem like the bad people to me no more, because it's just my understanding of the way the system is now. It's like that deal that they made him was actually, to me, it was a good deal. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, you mean to tell me If you've done anything in your past that you want removed off your record, and all you have to do is work. I mean, I know it may sound bad to some people because that may sound like an informant, kind of, but I don't want to even think of it that way. I really don't want to think of it that way because I think it depends on all what they're asking for. So I would have to hear the context of what they're asking for, really. But yeah, it just sounded like a good deal to me because I'm like, to have a fresh new start, who wouldn't want that? You know? So yeah, now when I see the Matrix, I see the agents as the good people, and then the way I see Morpheus is actually as the bad person that's trying to pull Neo away from the good people that could possibly be helping him. That's just the way I see it now. That's my perception of the Matrix. And I really believe that's the way it really is in real life. It's like you got the authorities that we're supposed to respect, but then we have peer pressure and people that might influence us or make us think that the authorities are the bad people. You know, when people complain about the police officers or they talk bad about, hey, look, I don't know. I don't want to say I don't know, but I don't believe I ever met an ICE agent. But if to me, that's the police. That's the last three letters of police, ICE. I mean, it's the police. They are the police. So I hear oftentimes people talk bad about them too, but it's just like it's similar to the Matrix. It's like how many people can convince you or influence you to make you think that the authorities are the bad people and that the bad people are the good people. To me, that's really the Matrix. It's tricking you to make you think like you doing the right thing or having a fresh clean start, it's a bad thing. That's a good thing. But you becoming bad and becoming this whatever the hell he was becoming, it's supposed to be a good thing. Anyways, um that's my answer to the question, how can watching the movie The Matrix help us? I think if you watch it again based off what I said, maybe your perception might change because like I said, when I watched it as a kid, it looked as if the people that were after Neo were the bad people, but they were offering, at first they actually seemed reasonable. It wasn't until after Neo got an attitude and he was trying to like fight them or looked rebellious, that's when the agents became really like hostile and now they trying to kill him. So um I really believe the Matrix could help us if we really understand who's bad and who's really good. 18. How do you feel about politics? Yes. To be honest, and of course I came up with these questions, so I'm like answering myself. I try not to get too deep into politics because I think it like when I say too deep, mention too many names of what this person is doing and what that person is doing and why I don't like their policy and why they're, to me that's getting deep. In a way, we all can be political because what we talk about in a way is politics. Like, okay, if I talk about abortion and how I'm against abortion, that's a political statement, you know? Or if I talk about guns and why I feel like guns can be more harmful than helpful, that's a political statement. So oftentimes what we say is very political, but me going into detail about this person and their policy and what they've done and how the Democrats and the acrobats, the Democrats and the acrobats and the Republicans and the whatever the hell, going so deep into it and listing a whole bunch of names and stuff that other people are doing, that's when I think things get really confused and messy. And that's why I don't like to take it to that level. But it's just like yeah, at some point in time, we all may make a political statement. It's really our beliefs. Whatever we believe in can, in a way, be political. But um, I try not to get too much into how I feel about what people are doing because yeah, that I think that's what separates me from other people is getting too deep into what they're doing. Because to be honest with you, half of the time I have no idea what they're doing. Like I'm so consumed in my own life and what I need to do in my own life. There's too many people out there doing a whole bunch of stuff that I it takes too much time to keep up with what all they're doing, you know. Um, that's how I feel about it. But what I will say, ah, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say that. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Mm, okay, I was gonna say that. You know, okay, maybe I'm not gonna say that. Question 19. 19, last question. What can we do to have peace in an unjust system? To have peace doesn't mean it's going to be perfect because it's not until after, like I told you, after Armageddon comes and God do what he do. But there's still a way to have peace within our own lives. I would say to encourage other people by being, encourage others, be a good example, pursue whatever your dreams are and inspire others by doing that, whether it's movie films. I mentioned films earlier because films, you know they have a huge impact on the society and people and you know how they live their life. They just have a huge impact on people, just films. So there's a way you can make a statement by making a movie or making a music video. You don't always have to do a demonstration or a protest or a political debate. You could do something you love to do. You can draw something and make a political statement by doing that and put it in your artwork. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do by your passion and what you love to do. And then when you're doing that, you might find that you found a lot of peace within doing that within yourself because you did something you love to do, but while at the same time helping somebody else. So that's my answer to how we can possibly have peace in an unjust system. And when I said encourage others, I really, really love, I love that part because, when I go through something, I know it's probably a lot of other people that probably have experienced some of what I went through. I don't believe no one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. I don't believe no one has been through all of the stuff I've been through. Oh hell no, 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 no. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there feel like that. Like, no, you have not been through everything I've been through or walked in my shoes. You don't understand. But I do really believe that a lot of people out there have experienced some of the stuff that I experienced. And at the same time, I feel like if there's a way I can encourage other people or help them so they don't have to hurt anymore, or I mean, or at least feel better about themselves or find love, hey, I'm still looking for it. But at least but the difference now is I have somewhat peace in my life with me not having love in my life. I have peace with being alone. That's the difference. But, I know a lot of people, mm, they want love and they've been hurt And so I like encouraging people, and especially with women, because I'm a woman, I don't like to see women used or hurt. So if there's any way I can help by sharing my story and say, hey, this is what you should do, and this is what you should not do. I'm a great example. Don't do what I did. Do this, then hopefully it might help. Before I end this video, because wow, I know I said I didn't want to make no 3-hour videos, but I can't believe how long this video is. I just can't believe it. I did write down, I tried something new for today, write down the tip of the day. So we have the scripture of the day, which is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3, which I already mentioned earlier. You know what? I want to read it real quick because I did say I was going to probably read it again later. And since I'm at the end of this lesson, I wonder how long the lessons are in college, because this is really lengthy. Hebrews, dang. It's back here somewhere. Oh my God. Okay. 11:3. Okay. By faith, we perceive that the system of things were put in order by God's word, so that what is seen has come into existence from the things that are not visible. So just remember that the more faith you have in God, the more you believe that this system is here because of him. You believe it more because like I said, you know everything that exists around you. God allows, and he's the author of everything. So it kind of brings somewhat comfort to you to know, like, hey, everything's going to be fine, because if it wasn't supposed to be this way or meant this way, God would not have allowed it to happen. Everything happens for a reason, that type of thing. So that, I think that would give a person, hopefully, encouragement to read that scripture. Anyways, tip of the day. Okay. Oh, here's a tip of the day. And this has a lot to do with cameras and surveillance, video surveillance. When you say something at home and you believe in it, make sure you stick with it, stay true to it, and stand by it. Because when it's time to go to court and your case is presented before a judge, you will need to have that same answer. Don't change up at the last minute, because you might regret it. And here's some words from one of the episodes I'd seen, which I really love, Key and Peele, which I've probably seen almost every episode that they have made, is say what you mean and mean what you say. They'll probably know, some people will know exactly what episode I'm talking about. But yeah, the more I thought about that Key and Peele episode, it's like, yeah, say what you mean and mean what you say. Like, if you really believe the whole you're being watched and all that, you'll be confident. You probably be really confident when you go to court if you stand by everything you say in your everyday life. If you try to go the opposite, and I'm speaking from experience, if you say something different and you change your mind at the last minute, like, okay, no, I don't want to say this amount, I want to say this amount, or whatever, you just change your mind on something, it might not work out the way you exactly want to in court. And then you might have to ask yourself, why is that? Did my belief change? Has this been my same belief for the past 6 months or 7 months? change it. Just always have that paranoia. I hate to use the word paranoia, but always have that paranoia that someone's always watching you and what you say, even when you're on the toilet at McDonald's. That way, when you have to answer to someone like a judge, you'll feel confident in the truth that you tell them that is the truth because you know you've been saying the same thing. You'll be confident. But if you go to court, you say something different, you might be nervous and uncomfortable because you changing it up. But you probably have more confidence when you go to court. And that's just an example because court, that's part of the system. So that's just an example of say what you mean and mean what you say. Remember, there are cameras everywhere and everyone's watching. That's my tip of the day. I don't care how crazy or paranoid I sound. I don't care. I know what it is. And if I can help someone else, that's what I'm going to do. And if you don't learn from it, then that's your choice. Keep doing what you do. Anywho, thank you for listening to this episode, this lengthy episode of the system and why it's here. Next week, I'll be. That was a lot of questions. 19, like really 19 questions for the Q&A. That was a lot. Next week, I'm planning on talking about the basic fundamentals of acting. And this is coming from someone that doesn't have any educational background in acting. I have not gone to school for it, or, I don't have that. But this is my experience of an actor in my personal life. And when I say personal life, I'll get more into it of what I mean next week. And so you'll probably understand what I mean of how I feel like I've been acting a long time without getting paid for it. So yeah, I want to talk about that next week. Anywho, I hope y'all learned something from what I said. And until then, yeah. Until then, have a good day and see you soon.